So in this video, we're going to take a look at the recent developments concerning the case of Nicola Bulley, and in particular, the search team's return to the River Wyre. Now, firstly, we're going to start with a few newspaper articles to bring everyone up to speed on what exactly has taken place, and then I'll be sharing with you my own thoughts and opinions. Police spotted searching river in ongoing Nicola Bulley investigation. A police diving team has been seen in the area close to where a missing mum of two was discovered. It is believed that officers from the specialist team are attempting to confirm the cause of Nicola Bulley's death. Footage captures the team entering the water less than a mile away from where the mortgage advisor was last seen in St Michael's on Wyre. The HM coroner confirmed that they have requested help from Lancashire police to help determine information surrounding Nicola's death. It is understood officers were at the scene earlier in April. Nicola vanished while walking her dog by the river on January the 27th, which led to a wide-reaching search. Her body was tragically discovered on February the 19th. Meanwhile, an inquest into her death will be heard on Monday, June the 26th at County Hall, Preston. A police spokesperson told Lancs Live that the search took place last week, adding, quote, "We can confirm we are carrying out some work on the direction of HM Coroner." A spokesman for HM Coroner issued in February said, quote, "The investigation will take time to complete to ensure that as complete a picture as possible of the facts concerning Miss Bulley's death is presented at the inquest. This will assist the family in understanding what occurred." As part of this process, HM Senior Coroner has requested Lancashire Constabulary produce information gathered during the search for Miss Bulley so it can be considered as part of the investigation. The next newspaper article has the following headline: Nicola Bulley police divers are looking for specific missing object in river where mother died, claims forensic pathologist as officers comb waters. Police investigating Nicola Bulley's death are reportedly looking for a specific item that is missing from where she died, a forensic pathologist has claimed. Specialist police diving crews were filmed in the River Wyre in Lancashire on Tuesday, April the 4th, less than a mile from the bank where Nicola Bulley disappeared on January the 27th, sparking a huge 23-day manhunt. The mother of two, 45, went missing after walking her dog near the river in St Michael's on Wyre. The search for her involved police, the fire service, mountain rescue, diving teams and the local community. But her body was tragically found in the river on February the 19th. Miss Bulley's partner, Paul Ansell, 44, raised the alarm after a villager found their spaniel running loose close to a bench overlooking the river. Miss Bulley's mobile phone had been left on the bench. Dr. James Aidley, Senior Coroner for Lancashire, has asked Lancashire Police to return to the water for investigative work to help confirm her cause of death and what happened before she was found. A senior National Police source with experience of similar cases told the newspaper earlier this week that the decision to send divers back in shows how seriously the investigation is being taken. The coroner clearly wants more answers and potential evidence, the insider added. Forensic pathologist Dr. Richard Shepherd, who worked on important cases such as the Stephen Lawrence investigations and was called as an expert in the trial of Harold Shipman, has said the police are looking for a missing object, the Mirror newspaper reports. He told the paper that he was, quote, "struggling to see what they could now be looking for that would affect or influence Nicola's cause of death." Dr. Shepherd added that the morgue would have done a post-mortem examination to uncover any natural diseases in her system, injuries and samples for alcohol and drugs. He said he thought they were looking for an artefact of some sort that they cannot find but believe is in the river. He says that police would not want a member of the public to find it. He said it was unlikely that police were trying to reconstruct how her body travelled down the river, as there are too many variables, such as reeds and branches getting in the way, and the exact river flow to properly repeat it. The following newspaper article has the headline, Nicola Bulley police issue statement explaining reason for the new river search. Police investigating the circumstances of Nicola Bulley's death have released a statement explaining why they have launched a new river search in response to misinformed speculation. It comes after walkers reported that police divers had returned to the area of the River Wyre where the tragic mum was last seen. The 45-year-old went missing on January the 27th this year, sparking a 3-week high-profile search operation which ended when her body was found. Explaining the return of police divers to the river, a spokesman from Lancashire Police said on Friday, quote, "There has been misinformed speculation over the past few days relating to the police activity in the River Wyre. As previously stated, police divers were acting under instruction of HM Senior Coroner and had been asked to assess the riverbanks in the vicinity of where Nicola Bulley went missing. They had not been tasked either to perform any further searches within the river or along the banks or to locate any articles. This activity is to assist with the coronial process." End quote. A diving team was seen in the water not far from a weir and downstream from a bench where police believe Miss Bulley, 45, went into the water in St Michael's on Wyre, Lancashire on January the 27th. She vanished while walking her dog along the River Wyre after dropping her daughters aged 6 and 9 at school, sparking a huge search operation and intense media and public interest. Okay, so what are my own thoughts regarding the police returning to the River Wyre? Now, I've been following this fairly closely for the past week or so. I've read various articles, I've seen the videos that have been posted online of the police searching the River Wyre. But to me, the first thing that stood out to me personally is where the police are actually searching here. We're not talking about where the body was discovered further downstream, but we're talking about just past the bench area, just past the weir. Now, for me personally, this case is one monumental puzzle, shall we say. I don't really have a strong feeling in terms of what has happened to Nicola Bulley. I'm not really here to point fingers or cast doubt onto anybody's character or anything like that. Because to me, there are questions around every corner concerning this case. And I'll just tell you where my head's at regarding this and where my thoughts lay at the present time. Now, for me, I believe we're looking at one of two situations here, one of two possible scenarios. Either Nicola has entered the water voluntarily, or there is some kind of third-party involvement here. But no matter how I look at this case, there's always some kind of roadblock that stops me from following through with some kind of theory video which could explain categorically what has happened to this lady, and I'll explain why. Now, let's say, for instance, this was a case of Nicola entering the water voluntarily. Now, based on where her body is discovered, in my opinion, that means that she must have left the riverside location. The reason that I say that is because where the bench is located, we know that the river there is fairly shallow, particularly at the edge. Yes, it does get deeper in the middle, granted, that is true. But that water hardly moves. That point of the river is very, very slow moving. We also know that police divers were in the river searching for Nicola within 3 to 4 hours, and they even went 3 miles downstream of the bench location. However, when we take a look back at the video which was taken by Maria, the lady who videoed the search team in the River Wyre just recently, the point of interest which stood out to me was just past the weir location. I've been thinking for the last couple of weeks, okay, let's be open to the possibility that Nicola did enter the water voluntarily. I think we have to be open to that idea. It's okay to have other theories and, suggest other possibilities here. But at this point in time, I am open to basically all possibilities, as everyone should be during this point of the investigation. I mean, at the end of the day, we don't have the cause of death. The investigation hasn't come to a pure conclusion at this point. The hearing hasn't taken place, which is scheduled for June. So we should be open to all possibilities at this point in time. But as I say, for the last couple of weeks, I've been looking at that. How could Nicola have left the area? If she has entered the water voluntarily, how has this happened and how has she done this without being seen? Now, one area of interest which stood out to me is the area directly to the side of the bench. This is, I believe, the sty area, or where this little fence is here. And I've been really focusing on this, as I say, for the past couple of weeks, thinking to myself, well, okay, she most likely hasn't entered the water by the bench for the reasons that I've discussed earlier. The fact it's very shallow, it's slow moving, and there were a number of dog walkers in that field during the time that Nicola went missing. So would she, or could she, have taken the trip over that little fence and entered the water further downstream, away from prying eyes or, any member of the public who may see her entering the River Wyre? Is that a possibility? And it's interesting that they seem to be searching that area just past the weir. Now, my biggest issue, and the reason I haven't actually made a video on this up till this point, is the fact that I thought to myself, well, hang on a minute, would you really enter at this location? The problem with entering here is that you're going to travel downstream and you're actually going to go under the bridge that she walked across. So the bridge that goes across, the iron bridge that goes across, which leads to the towpath. Would that be a little bit risky? Heading down that way, maybe being seen by even a passing car or passing pedestrians who are crossing that bridge. Is that really a logical place for you to enter the water? I mean, yes, it's possible, but would you actually use that? Would you take that risk? Or would you continue further down the towpath, cross the road, and enter the water further downstream? Now, the problem with that, as I've said previously, is the fact that Nicola wasn't seen. We don't have anyone seeing Nicola leaving the area on the towpath. We have no dashcam footage showing Nicola entering or exiting her walk. Now, for me, leaving the area down the towpath and crossing the road, continuing on the walking path network further downstream and entering away from prying eyes is the area which would make most sense based on where Nicola Bulley's body was ultimately discovered. But as I've just said, we had no eyewitness accounts of anyone seeing Nicola leaving the area, and certainly no dashcam footage of Nicola crossing the road or exiting back down the towpath location. So there's nothing to suggest, evidentially speaking, that Nicola left that riverside area. So then we can flip this, can't we? And then maybe you can look at, well, could this be third-party involvement? Did Nicola go on the walk that morning? Did she drop her children off at school and then something took place during that walk? But then equally, there's no eyewitness accounts of any strange third parties, no screaming heard, nothing again, evidentially speaking, to suggest third party involvement. So this is why, at this point in time, I remain literally split between this being some kind of act of self-fate or Nicola entering the water voluntarily, or some kind of third-party involvement. The truth of the matter is, from my perspective, is that we have little to no evidence to back up either claim. We don't have any eyewitness accounts, we don't hear anyone screaming or any sort of strange vehicle pulling off at high speeds or anything like that. We don't have anything to suggest that either is more likely. But what I can say though, from my own point of view here, my own perspective, is that this was not an accident. The reason that I say that is because if this was some kind of accident, then it most likely transpired close or pretty much exactly where her belongings were found. So very close to the bench area. And we know, factually speaking, that river is incredibly slow moving in that location. Now, to believe this is some kind of accident, I would have to say that, okay, well, she's left the belongings there. She's then gone across that little fence area, and somehow there's been an accident which has taken place further downstream. But I can't rationalise that in my own mind. I can't see that as likely at all. I mean, why would she even leave that area? Why would she cross the stye or cross the little fence area and then some kind of accident take place with Willow then being found the other side of the fence? To me, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, Nicola was not on the walk that morning. She never even went on that walk. She wasn't walking Willow. She was never in the field. This was a lookalike or a decoy or whatever. But what I can't get my head around, my biggest stumbling block regarding that and what is stopping me from looking further into that as a possibility is the fact that we have two young children here, ages 6 and 9, who according to them were driven to school by their mum, by Nicola Bulley. So I can't get my head around that big stumbling block of two young girls being driven to school by their mum, or was it someone else? You know, you'd have to believe that someone else drove them to school. Nicola was never on the walk that morning. And I mean, some people are going to say, well, the children were never questioned, the children were never questioned by the police. But look, let's just step back into reality for one moment. These are children who are aged 6 and 9. They're not maybe 2 or 3 years old. You know, these are children who are going to talk, they're going to speak to their grandparents, they're going to speak to Nicola Bulley's mum and dad, and they're going to say, you know, what was mummy like during that morning or whatever. There's going to be some kind of discussion, or it may even come out that, oh, yeah, by the way, mum didn't take us to school that day. It's not feasible, is it? Let's be honest, it's not feasible. If Nicola Bulley dropped the children at school, then she was the person who was on the walk. I mean, otherwise, something has happened between the time that she's dropped the children off and when the items are discovered. But then where would that have taken place? How would that have happened? Did she go back home? Well, how did she get back home? The car is clearly at the primary school, you know, or the car is clearly at the school. So to me, I guess we have to look at it in terms of Nicola being on the walk. Yes, we don't have CCTV. We have no dashcam footage of Nicola on that walk, but I guess that could be explained by the fact that the police sought dashcam footage from the wrong road the entirety of the investigation, as I've covered in countless previous videos. We're not going to go into that in this video, thankfully. But it's a strange one, isn't it? We don't have any real concrete evidence. We don't have any CCTV or dashcam footage of Nicola on her walk that morning. But we do have those 2 young children who, to the best of our knowledge, have stated that, yes, their mum actually drove them to school on that morning. So we have to believe, really, that Nicola was on the walk, walking Willow, during that morning of January the 27th. So again, this brings us full circle back to Maria's video of the search team in the River Wyre just past the Wyre location. Are they looking in that location because they believe that Nicola could have entered the water further downstream? And by further downstream, I mean beyond the sty location, beyond the little fence there, and entered further downstream, closer to the Wyre? Or are they simply checking if a body could have travelled over that location? It's interesting that in Maria's video, she mentioned that one of the search team members was actually on their back, floating on their back, maybe to see how far a body would travel or could travel. I mean, really, they could be in there for any number of reasons, possibly the Fitbit, as discussed in a previous newspaper article. I've also heard talk that they're checking the river banks themselves and the stability of those banks. I mean, that's a possibility. But as I say, what drew my attention to that particular video is the location itself. Are they looking at the possibility here that Nicola did leave the immediate riverside area and entered the water further downstream? Clearly, we need to wait until June for this hearing to take place and for the cause of death to be released to the public. Now, before I conclude today's video, I just want to make it clear one more time that I am completely open in terms of possibilities at this stage of the investigation into the death of Nicola Bulley. I am not categorically saying that this poor lady took her own life. I'm not saying that there's third-party involvement. I remain completely and utterly open to all possibilities at this time. As always, many thanks for joining me for this video. I will put up the Nicola Bulley playlist in front of you here if you wish to check out other videos on the case that I've created. Do feel free to check those out at your leisure. And as always, many thanks for joining me for this video. I look forward to seeing you all again for the next one. Take care. Cheers.